Hey there guys, welcome back to another video by the New Nostalgia Podcast and the New Nostalgia Network. So for the month of October, we're going to be talking about our favorite horror movies and mind-blown movies. We may have talked about this a little bit on the podcast, well maybe actually really in depth on the podcast. Okay, it's October. Well, we're going to be talking about our favorite mind-blown movies and our favorite horror movies. So what's a mind-blown movie? What's a horror movie? First, mind-blown movie, something that you watch. It can be something a little bit scary. It can be a little bit something to where you watch it and all of a sudden midpoint, everything that you thought you were watching, everything that you thought, about reality and the world has changed. And it blows your mind and it's awesome. Next one, horror movies, obviously something that'll make you scary, something that'll stay with you, that'll linger with you, something that has stuck with us throughout from childhood, maybe from adolescence to now, or just something that we saw recently that was something that didn't let us sleep at night. So to start, without further ado, let's go and start with my pick from my mind-blown movie. So mine is always subjective. You're going to see some overlap from what I can tell from our movies. You're going to see a lot of overlap. But this is my personal list, and remember, this is subjective. So be kind and rewind. All right? First, number 10. Alright, number 10. I have Cabin in the Woods for the mind-blown movie. Cabin in the Woods. You may think horror movie, but Cabin in the Woods to me is a movie I watched that I didn't really think necessarily scared me, but I remember watching it thinking, oh, this is going to be a Cabin in the Woods movie. Obviously, you can tell by the name of the title. I thought it was going to be something kind of like Evil Dead, Cabin Fever, but then again, midpoint in the very middle, it changes, and I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to go too in depth, but it's everything all the tropes a horror movie should be, but it blows your mind just watching it, and I loved it. Number 9, Lost Highway. I'll admit I've only seen this once because I really just bought it recently, but the first time I watched it, I had no idea what was going on, and I still don't. So mind blown, right? So pretty much this is going to be the first in probably 3 movies of David Lynch, so you'll see a reoccurring theme. Patricia Arquette, Bill Pullman, Balthazar Getty. I don't know what happened. They play different roles, and it's going to be something that I guess is a Lynchian kind of motif. Actors playing similar roles but different roles in the same movie. It comes back up in another movie that I'm going to come up in a little bit, which we've already talked about at length in the podcast, but Alright. Fight Club, number 8. So, Fight Club to me is the kind of movie where, again, I thought I was watching one kind of movie, and midway through, no I wasn't. It was something completely different, and I loved it. It's pretty much, in pop culture, you don't talk about Fight Club, we're not talking about Fight Club. Okay, don't kick my ass. Alright, moving on. Pulse. So this is, or Cairo as the Japanese title is. So this is, I'm pretty sure a bootleg copy I got off eBay back in 2003. And because they didn't really have too many import Japanese horror movies, so I bought this off eBay, and I'm pretty sure, oh god, it's coming out. I'm pretty sure that this is a bootleg copy. But I think you can actually watch this now on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken, off the Criterion Collection. It's now on Criterion Collection. So this is a movie that, when you watch it, oh my god, it has a philosophy to it that is so depressing, but so understated, and it's so terrifying, gets under your skin. You really should take a moment and watch it. Again, if you hate subtitles, I'm sorry, but you need to watch it with subtitles. It's amazing. If you remember back in 2006, the Kristen Bell movie that's named Pulse, well, this is the original, and it's way better than that piece of garbage. You really don't want to watch that one, so give it a shot. Number 6, It Follows. So I'm not sure if this one I kind of went back and forth with. So I was thinking It Follows, horror movie, mind-blown movie. I want to say mind-blown movie for me personally, because while I did find it very, very scary, and it's the type of movie where after I left the theater, as I was driving in parking lots, I kept thinking people were following me. But to me, it's a mind-blown movie because it really makes you think. It's kind of like what we just talked about with Pulse. It makes you second think your whole philosophy of the way you view the world, I think. And it's something that you kind of take a piece of yourself and you kind of come up with a theory of what's going on, and you put a lot of yourself into the interpretation that you come out with this movie. So that in itself, to me, is why it's a mind-blown movie. It's amazing. The soundtrack is beautiful. The cinematography is amazing. If you haven't seen it, which I really doubt a lot of people haven't, you should really give it a shot. It's amazing. Okay, Donnie Darko. This movie I watched at maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, thinking it was just a stupid teen movie and something I'd fall asleep to. And I didn't go to sleep while watching this movie because it's so weird. And a part of me feels like I didn't get everything that this movie has to offer still. It's been probably about 5 or 6 years since I've seen this movie. But it's still, to me, one of Jake Gyllenhaal's better performances. He's a great actor, but I still think, here you really see him in his raw teenage phase. And just the whole thing with the epic 80s music and, Frank the Bunny Man, it's great. I think if you haven't watched this, you should give it a shot. All right. Number 4, David Lynch comes back with Blue Velvet. So this one is probably a more straightforward version of a David Lynch movie. Is as straightforward as a David Lynch movie gets. So take with it what you will. It's crazy. Especially Dennis Hopper gives a crazy performance as the villain of the movie. You will never see him the same. He's terrifying in this movie. Isabella Rossellini can't sing for crap, but it's amazing because she plays a lounge singer that can't sing, but it kind of it adds to the allure. I don't know. And Kyle MacLachlan and Laura Dern. Laura Dern gives her epic cry faces. You'll love it. Watch it. Okay, number 3, Jacob's Ladder. So now we're getting to the really nitty gritty. Okay, this movie, you won't know what's going on. Possibly you won't know what's going on. You'll have an idea of what's going on throughout the whole thing. And at the very end, you'll see that twist. And all of a sudden, the whole movie will be different. And you need to watch it again to fully understand what's going on and why it's called Jacob's Ladder. It's not just called Jacob's Ladder because the main actor, played by Tim Robbins' name is Jacob. It'll make you think about life. It'll make you think about religion. This is totally the devil and God completely fighting over one person's soul, and more or less how you want to take your interpretation. I think it's not so much open to it, but take with it what you will. It's a crazy movie. It will give you nightmares, and believe it or not, this was directed by the same guy who directed Fatal Attraction. So it's it's a more nightmare-inducing movie, I'd feel, with demons and devils and all that stuff, but it's also really great. So give it a shot. All right. So number 2, I have the Requin for a Dream and Pi set. So the one that I'm going to be going over right now is Requin for a Dream. And to me, this is the first Darren Aronofsky movie I've watched, and really the only one I've really liked, to be quite fair and honest. I like Pi. It's all right. To me, this is his pinnacle directorial masterpiece. And believe it or not, there is a director's cut, and then there's I don't know if it's a producer's cut or if it's the theatrical cut, but theatrical cut is the thing that is the version of the movie that Aronofsky doesn't want you to watch. The director's cut is what he wants you to see because it adds in all that extra grittiness, all that extra things that makes it an NC-17 rating, and it's a hard NC-17. It really shouldn't be seen by children because this will give little kids nightmares and things that they can't unsee. But again, it makes you think about what you hold dear. It makes you think about everything. It makes you appreciative of what you have. It makes you appreciative of the fact that you aren't these people, really. So great performance by Ellen Burstyn, by Jennifer Connelly, cannot make a happy movie, and Jared Leto, he's pretty much a chameleon. So in this movie, they all have their downfalls, and each of their different downfalls is very interesting and something that you should give it some time to watch. Last but not least, it was coming. Number 1, Mulholland Drive. Recently, Mulholland Drive has been called the best movie of the 2000s, of the knots. And I agree. This is a beautiful movie. This is a movie that must be experienced and watched and analyzed. And when you first watch it, you really need to stick with it past the 2/3 point where everything goes haywire and you don't know who's playing what character, and like the movie completely turns on itself. You really need to stick through it and then watch it again and then watch it again and then come up with an idea what you think's going on, and then start to believe what you think's going on, and then start to rethink what you think what's going on. It's life. It's what you're constantly... And then watch it again, and then watch it again, and then by the time you watch it for the 50th time, your theory of this movie and what is happening in this movie will be completely different, and it'll start to make sense to you, but really maybe to no one else. But give it a shot. This is one of the most beautifully crafted movies, one of the most excellent acted movies. Naomi Watts, I think this was one of her breakout roles when she first came out, before The Ring came out, and I think this is what made her a star, and the rest of the cast is just awesome. David Lynch really is like a director's director in this movie, so give it a shot and let your mind be blown. Okay? Alright, moving on. So those were the mind blown movies. Okay, now going into horror movies. I feel like my description of these horror movies will be a lot shorter. Probably not. Let's start off with number 10. Number 10, Friday the 13th. Okay, this movie won't make you think about life. This movie won't make you think about your place in the universe, but it will be a fun time, especially if you're 8 years old and have... I remember watching this when I was 8 years old on TNT, and I had, I think, a stomach flu, and I was vomiting up stuff, and this is what my fever dreams were too. So this holds a special near and dear place in my heart. It's stupid, it's fun, people die horrible deaths, and when I watched it on TNT, everything was censored, so I didn't know how bad it really was. When I watched it back, yeah, it really isn't. It really is different, but it's stupid and fun. Give it a shot. Number 9. So The Ring. The Ring, okay, so again, Naomi Watts comes back for a second go through. The Ring to me is a movie, one of the first movies I really got obsessed with when I was in high school. This movie came out when I was a freshman in high school, and I remember I was in band, and someone, I don't know how or what they had, but they brought in a videotape, to the band hall, and we had those old tube TVs that had the built-in VHS player, and he put it in, and it was the actual video from the movie, and at the very end it has a little URL, not thering.com, but it was like, can you see it now or something, and not to be confused with the Magic movie, but it had a little URL that you had to go to, and it gave like full descriptions of people who had seen the videotape and that had their own experiences from watching it. It was like really one of the first viral marketing campaigns I remember from that time. And Cloverfield kind of did it after that. There's other different movies that have done similar viral marketing techniques, but I remember this one being particularly interesting. And then watching the movie, there's this over sense of dread of what's going to happen, and that at the very end it's like, is she going to die? Is she not going to die? How is she not going to die? It's amazing. Give it, it's good. Well, we'll give it that. Give it a shot if you haven't seen it. Number 8. So this is the original Japanese Dark Water. This is not to be confused with, again, the Jennifer Connelly version, which is also pretty not that bad. If you want to give it a shot, not that bad. We'll give it that. This is the original. This is also directed by the same director who directed the Japanese version of The Ring. This movie will definitely make you cry and make you scared and make you want things to be different, but it's amazing. It's really about a mother who's already kind of starting to think she's going insane. She's already been, her husband's trying to get a hold of their kid. They're separated parents, and he starts saying that she's kind of going nuts. And then when they divorce, she takes the daughter and they move into this place. They move into this new apartment off somewhere else in a different part of the city they live in, and she starts seeing things, and they start saying, well, is she nuts? Is she crazy? And, you start to think she's nuts and that she's crazy. And it's such a beautiful, scary, fun ride. So give it a shot. If you haven't seen the original Japanese version, let's see, by Hideo Nakata, give it a shot. It's definitely going to be something that is outside most people's comfort zone. Again, watch it with, the subtitles. You lose something when you watch the dub version. So definitely give it a shot. All right. Number 7. I'm kind of surprised I put this so low. Let me see.
I know, me too.
We're coming back to this. I'm not sure this is number 7. Number 7, Trick or Treat. This movie kind of surprised me. I was thinking this is going to be a really crappy, straight-to-DVD movie, and I watched it thinking it was going to be really dumb. And it kind of is. It kind of has that kind of dumb feel to it. But the way it kind of all comes together, and like it's an anthology movie in the sense that there's all these different pieces, but in the end they all converge, they all diverge and go in different ways, but in the end they all come together, and it's about Halloween, perfect for Halloween time. So you may know Anna Paquin from True Blood or from the X-Men movies, but again, this is something that was a huge surprise, and something that after watching it I actually loved enough to buy. So go ahead and pick up a copy. It's probably super cheap in like the bargain bin for like $5. It's an amazing movie for Halloween, especially this time of year. Give it a shot. Okay. Still, we're not doing The Shining. I'm still waiting on that one. Okay. So this is a twofer because I couldn't pick, and to me they go together, and I don't have the third movie, and I kind of didn't really like the third movie as much. So it's a combo between Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. They have very different reasons for existing. Night of the Living Dead is the ground zero for zombie anything, and it's quintessential. It's something that needs to be seen. It's in black and white. It's from the 60s. It's public domain. It's probably, you can find it for 99 cents, in a bargain bin somewhere. But it needs to be watched, and it needs to be also analyzed because there's a lot of racial undertones in the whole zombie kind of lore. And I also bring up Dawn of the Dead because of, you'll watch this and it's so much more reminiscent of what we see now of zombie movies. And the remake in and of itself was interesting, but it's a very different feel. This has way more to do about public issues, consumerism, and all those undertones that George Romero is known for putting into his zombie movies. In this case, zombies mean something, and it's up to you to really figure out what you think it means. So give these two movies a shot. This one will be super cheap. Probably not this one so much, but I'd say definitely give it a shot. Day of the Dead to me wasn't necessarily my favorite. I don't have it. I want to own it, but maybe later. Number 5, Silence of the Lambs. I had nightmares of this guy. I had nightmares of Anthony Hopkins eating fava beans with a nice Chianti. I really felt like there are people in this world that do stuff like this, that eat people. I remember watching this when I was probably like 12 or 13, and even then it kind of shocked me, and it still, I think shocks people who are older than that, and there's again things you'll never unsee in this movie. Anthony Hopkins, Jodie Foster. I think Jodie Foster actually won an Academy Award for this too. It's one of the few horror movies that have been nominated and won Oscars. So it's amazing. Give it a shot. So I have the combo of Nightmare on Elm Street. But the one that I will be going over in particular is Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, and to a certain extent, some of the sequels like the third movie and New Nightmare. I kind of lumped them all together. Not so much the remake. I do like the remake, actually. It's not that bad, as most people have come out and saying that they didn't like it. I didn't mind it. But the original always holds the mantle for being the best one. And to me, I think I put this above Silence of the Lambs because, if in particular, to me, horror movies are the things that you watch, and it's always something that infects your dreams. Well, what about a movie that in itself is about dreams? You go to escape you go to your bed to hide, from scary things when you're small, and then to watch a movie where the killer is right there when you go to bed, is right there when you fall asleep. You need to sleep. You need to be. It's one of those things that you need to do as a living person, and you can't do it because this guy's after you. It's something that I remember watching young and being really nervous and really scared. Freddy Krueger is one of the best, villains in modern day horror movies, and I think he's still trying to be replicated. He's still trying to be, redone, and Robert Englund really can't be mimicked or can't be emulated. It's its own thing. It's its own special place in time, and its own special place in the horror movie, lineage. So, do yourself a favor. All right, now we're going back. Number 3, The Shining. Okay, not number 7. It wasn't. It shouldn't have been number 7. So number 3, The Shining. Jack Nicholson, cutting down the door is iconic. Shelley Duvall making him go crazy is iconic. Would you really like to spend all winter with Shelley Duvall? No. Well, neither did he. And he went nuts. To me, there's a lot of, I think, controversy about the way Kubrick directs his movies. He's very particular. He's very specific about what he wants. He drove Shelley Duvall insane in the process of making this movie, and it shows up on screen. Jack Nicholson plays crazy like no one else plays crazy, and this is the type of movie to me that you can watch and you can dissect, but at the same time, it's not a mind-blowing movie because you know what's going on for the most part, and you can enjoy it as that. You can enjoy it for what it is, and then you can dig deeper. And to me, one of the best things about horror movies is that it gives you something to think about, and this movie is one of those movies. Number 2, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, to me, is the perfect horror movie because it is almost essentially a bloodless movie. But it's come to be seen as a movie that is so gory and is remembered as being that. But it's almost a bloodless movie. Everything, all the blood, all the deaths are either done super quick or done quickly on screen or done off screen. But it's remembered for being gory and grotesque and vile and disgusting because of the images it left behind. And to me, that is the most top level stuff, where if someone can make a movie for less than $100,000 and get that reputation for being a great movie and for being something that people remember and to this day have nightmares of, you hear Chainsaw anywhere. Living in Texas, we almost thought that there was a place where this happened. It's almost become a lore where, oh, is this where Texas Chainsaw Massacre happened? Is this where the real Texas Chainsaw Massacre happened? And it's just nuts. It's a great movie. It's something that can't be unseen, unfortunately. But the more you watch it, the more you see how crazy it is that nothing really happens in the sense of blood and guts and gore. But you'll always remember it being one of the most vile things you've ever seen. And to me, that's super interesting. So, if you haven't seen it, and don't see the remake, it's alright. But, alright. Last but not least. Alright. Number 1. Halloween. To me, Halloween was one of those movies that I remember watching that really got me into horror movies. This is the one movie that I really wanted to see as a horror movie, getting into it because my dad had it on an old VHS copy, and I remember thinking, oh, well, it can't be that bad, and then asking him to watch it, and I remember being maybe 9 or 10 and thinking oh, it can't be that bad. And again, almost an essentially bloodless movie. There are some little pieces here and there, but it leaves you scared because at the very end, when you think everything's done and everything's quiet and everything's happy in this small town of, Haddonfield, Illinois, all of a sudden he's gone, and you're left with this man who has completely scared a whole street on this town, and he's gone. And you thought what had ended is never going to end. And I think that that's like the perfect thing that lets people, that just gets under your skin. And when you feel safe, you're never truly safe. And to me, that's the perfect thing to leave off on. Spoiler for having watched the movie, it's over 40 years old. Get over it. Watch it. It's something that the sequels couldn't live up to because they try to explain too much. It's something that I feel the remake in particularly try to do too. It try to explain too much. Sometimes not knowing what's going on is the most terrifying thing, and not feeling safe and knowing that there's danger out there in the world is terrifying. And this movie, I think, captures that, and it transcends the genre in that sense. So that's why, for me, Halloween is my number one. So that's my list. That was my top 10 list for mind-blown movies and for horror movies. Now again, those were my particular picks. Everything's subjective. That's for me. There are movies I left out that I'm remembering right now. These are the movies I particularly own. So these are the movies that I feel are near and dear to my heart, that I would rewatch around this Halloween time to get me into the Halloween feel. So again, subjective, but if you feel like I left anything out, if you feel that there's something you'd recommend, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Go ahead and leave it on as a reply on our Twitter or Facebook page. So that's been my movies. I'm signing off. I'm Oscar. Thanks for watching, guys.